Hey guys, OGalbina here, bringing you guys our APA Classic Season 19 run Part 2. This is going to be Week 4 and onwards of our run. If you haven't seen our first half of our run, which is our drafting us through Week 1 through 4, definitely go check it out. We're starting off the season 3, 2, 1 spoilers 4-0, which is awesome. We have a great team. I absolutely love it with Mega Mall, Karen Black, Victini at the center of it. Fun mons like Breloom, like you see on your screen, Circuitry, and Crobat, and a bunch of mons I really love using. And I've had a ton of fun with this season so far. Hopefully we can keep the momentum going and do well here with the rest of our season into playoffs. We only need really one more win to kind of clinch playoffs. So I was kind of on cruise control at this point in the season, to be completely honest. But yeah, before we jump into it, if you guys do enjoy today's video, be sure to drop a like as well as subscribe to the channel. We're on our way to 1,000 subs, and I would really appreciate it if you helped us out along that journey and pushing towards that goal. But yeah, without further ado, let's jump into it. So you can see our Week 5 matchup. We're going against Grandmaster D-Ray, and we play Landers T, and our ground resist is Breloom, and that's not a good thing because this is a generation in which Z moves do exist. So Z-Fly Landers is really just an automatic nuke versus us. We have to play very carefully around it. He also has a Mega Kangaskhan right there, a Swampert, Garbodor, Whimsicott, and a Greninja. Greninja is another one I really do struggle switching into. Mega Kangaskhan as well, like an offensive variant, can be really tough. On our end, I have a very physically defensive Breloom. I just have an offensive Mawile, a Z Ice, Ice Beam, Kyurem, I believe with Earth Power as well, and Roost, and then some fourth move. Victini, Seismitoad, and a Roxing Melting. Now, these first couple weeks, I do apologize. I don't have the Pokepaste, so I don't remember exactly what I had. All my teams got deleted off my computer in the last month or so. Just randomly one day I woke up and they were all gone. Don't know why it happened or what I did to mess it up, but I don't have the teams anymore, unfortunately, but I can at least walk you through the game, which is really nice. But like I said, biggest starts right off rip is going to be that Lando, that Mega Kang, and that Gren are really terrifying for us to deal with. So, that being said, let's go ahead and jump off into this. We're going to see a Garbodor lead. I'm going to lead off with my Victini. Expecting the D-Ray don't want to switch out unless he's like a Sash variant. I am just going to U-turn if he is a Sash variant. U-turn isn't a bad play regardless because I feel like I can very well pivot into this thing and deal with it accordingly. So we do U-turn, do about 6% as this Garbodor actually elects to stay in and get up a layer of T-Spikes. This is fine on D-Ray's end. I think realizing that I don't have a grounded poison, I have Crobat to remove them, and I have different ways of removing them, but no grounded poison, so T-Spikes definitely make sense, especially to punish things like Seismitoad, Miltank, my Kyurem, you know, things like that on my team, which is definitely fair. But I am going to be able to get into my Kyurem and just off a big Earth Power this next turn as a Rock Blast comes out and does absolutely nothing. So D-Ray just kind of clicking super effective button get there, I guess. Honestly, I could have just subbed on this thing. I guess if you got 3 hits or more, then it wouldn't have been great for him. But I could have kept subbing until it happened, but not that big of a deal. As we are just gonna throw off an Ice Beam, kind of revealing that we're not choice, but not a big deal. You know, being able to take that thing out right there, which is great. Mega King is gonna come out, and like I said, I don't have great switches to this, and I know I do love a Power Up Punch, or really any hit that this thing wants to go for. So I am going to stay in and take that and take a decent amount of damage, but be able to throw off a big ICM Z and do 93% to this. Now, if I was Z Free Shock, I would have nuked this thing, completely knocked it out. But I was only Z Ice Beam, unfortunately, as we're going to get hardened to Toad as an Earthquake comes out. I believe we were Rocky Helmet Toad. Oh no, we were Leftover, so that was just a 2-hit KO regardless, unfortunately, as we're basically going to sack it off here. Pretty unfortunate, because it's one of the things that can naturally take a hit from Landers very well, but not the biggest deal in the world. We're going to go into our Mawile next. We're not Intimidate this week, just because, again, this Landers T exists, so it pivoting in makes sense. Especially on something like a Mega Mawile, so wanted to make sure it couldn't Intimidate drop me at least the initial time. Right here, it is going to come in, and I'm going to click a safe sucker. I didn't want to let my Mawile take unnecessary chip or just die to an Earthquake for no reason, so I figured it would be safe enough, as I am going to go into my Breloom. We are a defensive poison here, Breloom, so we're not actually going to be poisoned when this Landers goes ahead and clicks a U-turn. I'm surprised he didn't just Earthquake there, considering that he is going to reveal to be C-Fly in just a second, and I don't have an Earthquake resist. And he outspeeds everything on my team minus Victini. So I figured that Earthquake is pretty free there. Not the biggest deal in the world, though, as Breloom's going to come out. I'm going to put Protect on this Whimsicott coming in. This is just off a Leech Seed, which is fine. We're going to get our Poison Heal back. Unfortunately, I can't stay in, so I'm going to be forced to go into my Victini as a double Leech comes out here from D-Ray. So that was a very solid play on his end, realizing, hey, Owen can't stay in and let this Breloom die, or he literally loses the move Earthquake, especially if he's like a Scarflanders variant, which also wouldn't be the most terrible thing in the world in this matchup, being that my defensive counterplay is Breloom, but this Leech plus Poison is going to be very, very difficult for me to deal with over the course of the game. Because look, my Victini's already at what, 52%, so this matchup is not doing us very kindly. I'm going to U-turn on this Pert, do about 10% damage, which is nice, and get into my Miltank right here, which is again good because I can at least get up my rocks, but he's going to get up his own as well. And now my Victini is basically dead, especially with that poison on it, and you know, things like that. So unfortunately, we are going to let those rocks go up as the Whimsicott comes back out, and I am able to get off pretty big Toxic on this thing, as I am just going to Milk Drink in its face. I know it can't really do too much with me, too much to me with Moonblast, and right here I'm in a pretty good spot, as Zero's actually going to elect to go for a Leech Seed. I didn't think he would. I hadn't revealed an item yet, or an ability yet, so as far as he knows, I could definitely be Sap Sipper. That would have just been a waste of a turn, I suppose. But it works out for him in that instance, as he is able to get off that Leech Seed there. And between the Leech Seed and the Poison, I am going to be, or at least, yeah, the Poison, I'm going to be in a pretty decently tough spot right here. As the Landers is going to come out this next turn, as I am going to make a switch out into my Mawile, expecting that Moonscott maybe to just continue to stay in and, you know, maybe try and Moonblast me down, because I'd at least get a big hit off on something with a big play ref right there, but he's going to make that switch into the Landers, as I am going to just sack off my Victini in order to get a free switch into my Breloom. And right here, what I needed to do is I needed to sack off something else, or scout with my Mega Mawile and go into my Mawile and eat up that Z-Fly, because my Breloom, even through a Protect, is going to take a ridiculous amount from the Z-Fly, and it's going to put me in a pretty much losing position from here. As you're going to see, I am going to go into it. I am going to go Protect, so like acknowledging that it's probably Z, but for some reason I don't switch out. I don't know if that's Rust due to me just not playing a lot of Gen 7, but through Protect to that Max Fizz Death Breloom damn near, going to do 92%. We do live, but it doesn't really matter because we're in range of Earthquake at that point, which is no bueno. I'm basically just going to sack off my my Kyurem right here. So U-turns, which again found interesting. I'm pretty sure I just died to Earthquake, but I mean, maybe I didn't. I don't know. As the Swampert is going to come out, and then I'm going to go back out into my Breloom. I'm going to click Seed Bomb right here, but it turns out that he is Rindoberry. Again, I don't know why he was Rindoberry. Probably Victini. I figured something like a helmet variant might have been a little bit better. I don't know. Because I did struggle, like, clicking Grass Move. But I guess if I was Scarf Grass Move, because it also could, like, Gren or something like that, that could have been nice for him. So he is going to be Rindo regardless, so not really a terrible ring, to be completely honest. And he is going to knock me out with an Earthquake right there. As Mawile is going to come out right here, I am going to be able to play rough and knock out this Swampert, but this is just going to steal my fate versus this Landers. I can kind of sit here forever, but it doesn't really matter because we are going to lose, obviously. So unfortunately, we're going to drop our first one to D right here in a 4-0 fashion. So pretty unfortunate, but again, not the biggest deal in the world. We're still 4-1. We just need to pull out one game, just one simple game, and we'll be in a good spot. So I'll be right back with our next game. Alrighty, week 6, we're going up against my buddy Ant, ITZ with Tiva, active user, whatever you want to call him. He has the most Ant team of all time here against me right here in Donphan, Escavalier, Manaphy with Z-Moves, Necrozma, Komodo, and Mega Pinsir, which is a demon versus our team. You can see the 6 that we end up bringing. We have a Z Fusion Bolt, Karen Black with Ice Beam, Hidden Power, Fire, and Roost. We have, I believe, just a 4-attack small while or SD. I don't remember exactly. Again, like I said, kind of hazy on the movesets. We have a Choice Band Victini. I believe we had a Scarfed Persian, if I'm remembering correctly. A Roxing Seismitoad and a Memento Will-O-Wisp Shadow Ball 4th move. I don't remember the 4th move. Cophagrigus, which is a great pincer check, at least initially, because we can take away its aerial late. It can't really do too much to us that initial time. Or I guess the second time if we can live 2 hits. But that being said, let's go ahead and jump into it. I am going to lead off with my Karen Black. It actually leads really well in this matchup in general because I can Ice Beam. I have pivots into Escavalier, and if he's not like super Spadef, he may fear like a Specs HP Fire or something like that. Z Fusion Bolt. I can Ice Beam, at least gauge damage on Necrozma or pivot around it. Kamo is not going to want to stay in because he doesn't know my set, especially because I have the Z move option. And then Mega Pinsir, I have my initial pivot in Cophagrigus. So I felt like Kyurem was actually a very solid pivot lead here, especially if you let Donphan trying to get up rocks, because rocks are extra, like, really, I don't know why I'm blanking on, like, words. Really, really important versus my build, especially with things like Kyurem and Victini, and the team that I brought does not have any removal. So I figured he might want to get them up early and fast, and my Terravolt will let me go through this Donphan sturdy and just raw Oko if it's not like Assault Vest, which means I wouldn't get up rocks. Or if it's not Yachi Barrier, which I wouldn't expect really either. So I am going to lead off with my Kyurem right here. And because I feel so confident that he's just not going to want to take that damage on his Donphan, because I also don't expect Assault Vest or Yashi Berry on this thing. I expect it to be more physically defensive potentially, especially because it can maybe like soft check Mawile and things like that. Not really. I am actually just going to go for HP Fire Raw right here. We are going to see an OGalbina do 39% to this Escav, which means it's guaranteed range to the next one, so I just click it again. The Necrozma is going to come out right here. I believe I am going to pivot out right into my Victini as this Necrozma ends up getting up its rocks, which is honestly completely fine with me, which tells me that maybe he was double rocks with his Donphan, or his Donphan isn't the rocker, but he still does drop to the Kyurem. So very interesting. Regardless here though, I am just going to click a choice band V create. An offensive Manaphy will not appreciate it in the slightest, and everything else in his team does not appreciate it definitely. So we are just going to click that V create, do 92% with that to the Necrozma, showing it's pretty darn bulky, and it's going to click a big knockoff here, getting rid of our choice band, which is unfortunate, but due to the bulk and how much that knockoff really did and things like that, I believe I will still be faster. I'm going to U-turn out, knock out the Necrozma, and get into my Seismitoad right here and get a little bit of leftovers back. Next up, the Escavalier comes out, and I should have kind of noticed something was up right here, because like I was like, damn, this is probably what I'd switch into Escav, right? No, he ends up showing some pretty clean tech, as I end up getting my rocks here, because I'm like, word, they're really important for that pincer, as he reveals the Giga Drain, showing that that is a potential 2-hit KO depending on rolls. Really sick tech there from Ann. He's going to make a good play in knocking off right here and getting rid of my Cofagrigus' Colbur Berry, which is really nice. But a really sick set by Ant, to be completely honest, and really catching me off guard with my Seismitoad, getting a bunch of damage off on it, putting in range of like a +1 Komodo, putting in range of Pinsir soon, making it to where Donphan can, you know, do a lot of damage as well, or like the Energy Ball from Manaphy can guarantee cut. Just a bunch of cool things, definitely. As we are going to miss our next Wisp here on the Cofagrigus, as it ends up hitting us with an Iron Head. I am going to Wisp again as the Manaphy does end up coming out, maybe showing me that this thing is going to be like a Rest set or a Rain Dance set or something like that. I am going to Memento here, and this is a weird play because we Memento, and typically that was actually supposed to be there for our Mega Mawile in order to potentially set up a Swords Dance and win the game. But I'm actually going to use it to go into my Kyurem, because a +1 Tail Glow will not knock out my, or Dazzling Gleam will not knock out my Kyurem from 76. Whereas a +3/1 definitely would. So I am going to pivot out into that. I am going to pop my Z move. I need to force out this Manaphy. Makes a good play in scouting for it and going into his Escavalier, but I'm able to just take it out with an HP Fire immediately after and put myself in a pretty good spot here, as Pinsir is going to come out next. I am going to go hard into my Persian. This is a pretty bad play on my end. I should have just sacked off my Seismitoad. I was scared of a Swords Dance play there, but that would have been a really aggressive play by Amp. And even if he did, I go into my Seismitoad, I kill, and I have a Scarfowl play to where I can just knock out this Pinsir afterwards. So I really didn't need to make that play, as I am going to get close combat and punished. In my head, I'm like, where I can just attack it right here. No, I'm not going to be able to, because Quick Attack's just going to pick me off. So, not a very good play by your hero. That's going to make me go my Mawile right here. I'm not into him for some reason. I think I just forgot. I know I can take close combat, and I know it's not Earthquake, but that forces me to take a ton of damage on this thing, and that basically spells demise for me right here, as Komodo's going to come out, because I take that damage. I'm in range of an Earthquake. I go down right here, and I don't have a way of preventing a Dragon Dance right here. My Kyurem doesn't kill this thing from full with Ice Beam just because of how bulky it is. And I'm going to be able to throw off his Zen Headbutt, not flinch this thing, unfortunately, and then just lose to a +1 Komodo, unfortunately, as an Outrage comes out and another Outrage comes out, and that's the game. So, unfortunately, pretty poor positioning by me. I made some pretty over-aggressive plays that I really did not need to make, like that Persian play in particular really frustrates me. Didn't think that was a great play. And also a +1 Persian maybe could have saved me versus a Komodo, because I did have Play Rough, which would have been, you know, again, really clutch. I didn't need Seismitoad for actually anything in the back, maybe besides pivoting into Donphan, getting off a Scald, but it's not like Ant didn't have pivots into Scald like with the Manaphy or something like that, so I don't know. I'm pretty frustrated with how I played that endgame, but Ant played it well. He positioned his Komodo to set up an endgame, and he's able to take out the win. Again, I'm not super worried. We can still win one game and make it into playoffs completely fine. So I'm not super worried. I don't think you should be at home as well. We'll bounce back. I mean, look at SBT. We went, what, 4-0, lost 2 straight, made it to finals. So who knows? Who knows? Maybe that'll happen here. But I'll be right back with Week 7. Alrighty, Week 7 comes along, and we're going up against the Kraken himself, Mr. Emol, and his very Emol-esque team with the Seaking, Mimikyu, Thundee-Eye, Dugtrio, Torkoal, and Mega Venusaur. So there's Mega Venusaur Sun. Yes, you heard it here. With a Seaking on it. Only Emol would do so. We're going to rock out with our Mega Mawile. Our Chople Berry, Kyurem Black, I believe, is Earth Power, Ice Beam, Toxic, and Roost. We have a Quilladin with Super Fang, Spikes, Leech Seed, 4th move. I totally forget what the 4th move is. It might be Seed Bomb. Totally forget though, to be completely honest. We have a Scarf Victini, a Shed Shell for attack circuitry, as well as a pretty defensive Black Sludge Crobat with Super Fang and all the works and stuff like that. So that being said, biggest threats to me, Thundy kind of runs my shit. I do not have great Thundy counterplay. Venu Under Sun is actually pretty darn scary outside of my Crobat, which Crobat does check it very well. And Mimikyu can get out of hand pretty fast if we aren't careful about it. So let's go ahead and jump into this thing. We are going to see a Thunderous lead as we do lead our Xurkitree. I know I can live any one hit from this thing, and I don't want to allow this thing to, again, sub up for free or, you know, set up a nasty spot for free. So I'm going to Volt out here as I do get into my Kyurem right here. And I'm going to throw off a Toxic here. And I threw off a Toxic expecting Seeking to come in. Though, to be fair, didn't make much sense doing so because I could just Toxic in the next turn. It's not like Seeking really threatens me a ton, and I can just Toxic it and then switch out accordingly and deal with it from there. Like Ice Beam was incredibly free against the team that Emol brought because I can just Earth Power his 1 resist in Torkoal. So I think I overplayed a little bit here, especially because I saw sub. He's gonna elect to sub again, just kind of see what I want to go for. I know he's leftover, so I know I live this next hit. And obviously the Focus Blast is gonna, force me to eat my Chople Berry and things like that. So obviously I definitely live, but I'm gonna do Ice Beam again here. Don't want him to get up a sub again, so I'm gonna Ice Beam again right here, as he is going to, see me not overplay and, hit said Ice Beam, as the Torkoal is going to come out next, as I make a double out into my Victini, thinking he might want to Focus Blast me from there, because I think he would have killed me, though it makes sense that he didn't want to risk the miss. And from this point, I can throw off a free Psychic. There is no resist to Psychic on this team. I'm a Modest Choice Scarf variant, and I'm gonna be able to 2-hit KO this Torkoal pretty darn easily. It only does, what, 29 to me with Earth Power, so I'm pretty darn bulky, and we're able to take out this Torkoal. Only issue is this Dougie comes out. Now I will kill this Dougie most of the time if it is not a Sash variant, but if it's Scarf or Sash, I'm in a bad spot. It does show to be Sash, and it is going to take me out here, but Victini definitely did do some work in taking those things down. I am that much more weak though to the Thunder, so we got to be careful for sure. I'm gonna Brave Bird as the Seeking is gonna come in, take a ridiculous amount of damage. Now I don't know Emol. I know Emol. I know he likes to bring crazy Kraken shit, whether it be Aqua Ring or like Soak Toxic or Whirlpool sets or anything like that. So I wanted to go for a taunt right here, maybe prevent a rest as well, or prevent him Sword Dancing or setting up a Rain Dance or something like that. As he is just gonna reveal the Body Slam, which is again really interesting tech, maybe just trying to bait pairs, which would have been unfortunate for sure, but not the biggest deal, as I am going to get into my Xurkitree and I believe just double out into my Quilladin, expecting this Venu to come out potentially, or for this Seeking to go for a Drill Run if he was like an AV variant or something like that and could live an Energy Ball for some reason because he was like super Spadef. But Quilladin also covers his Venusaur in the sense that I am bulletproof, so I am immune to Sludge Bomb. The only way he can hit me is HP Fire, and neutral HP Fire won't 2-hit KO me right here. He is going to Mega Evolve right here and go for a Growth. The Sun is gone, so I don't have to worry about Venu Under the Sun being fast and everything. A +1 Hidden Power Fire is going to be a 2-hit KO, but I get up a Spike, which is important because 1, it KOs the Dougie, and 2, it's going to bring a Sash or Mimikyu if that thing is Sash setup or anything like that, so I can get off those 2 Sword Stances. So I think the Spike there is very important. He's going to go for a Giga Drain the second turn, not KO me, thankfully, as I do get off another Super Fang. Doesn't really matter though, in the sense that I can just go into Kyurem and I would revenge him from there anyways, and I do get a free KO here with an Ice Beam. So that is what I'm going to click. I'm going to knock out the Venusaur and tie this game up 4-4, as Thundy's going to come out right here. Now I don't really have a play otherwise. I don't want this thing to sub up. I know my Mawile can take a hit, and I know my Xurkitree can take a hit, and I know that he can't trap me anymore with his Dugtrio. So I'm completely fine just staying in, going for Ice Beam right here, as he's going to Focus Blast and unfortunately missed, which I do apologize to Emol about. That definitely sucks. I think he would have taken me out there, but it was a risk I was willing to take right there. As Mimikyu's going to come out, now due to my Terra Volt, I will hit this thing behind its disguise, so I'm just going to attack this thing and not let it sit up for free, because if I didn't, then obviously get off another Sword Dance, which would have sucked. So I am just going to throw off an Ice Beam as the Play Rough does end up coming out right here. It is going to knock me out, but I'm going to be able to go into Crobat right here, as the Shadow Sneak is only going to do, what, 34%, so I know I do guaranteed live another, which is great. And then from here, I'm going to be able to take out the Mimikyu after 2 Brave Birds and, put myself in a pretty decent position to win this game. Seeking is going to come out next. Now, I know I could save some diff and just, actually, I should have just Brave Birded, to be completely fair. Wow, that was a really bad play by me. I taunt right here, really scared that this thing's gonna like rest or like do some kind of shenanigans. I don't know, but I did 46 the first time, so I should have just Brave Birded. I think I would have taken myself out to recoil anyway, so I don't think it really matters. It just gives me more Xurkitree kills, but whatever. I'm able to go into Zergatry. I energy ball this thing, and the Dougie dies to the spike, and we're able to win the game. So kill the Quilladin. Maybe not my tightest game in the world, but we're able to grab the win. We move to 5-2 on the season, so we clinch playoffs. We have one more game in the regular season against Tony, and then it's off to playoffs. So I'll see you guys for that one. Alrighty, guys, here we are. Week 8 against Tony. Now, this is a very interesting game, right? Because Tony's on the cusp of playoffs. He's one of the lower seeds in the league, and we're one of the higher seeds in the league. So, theoretically, especially if we win, it's very likely for us to see Tony in playoffs, especially in round 1. So, I didn't spend too much time on this build because, again, I'm clenched, and I know I make playoffs. This is really a great way to scout and see what Tony wants to bring for this matchup. He has a really cool team, really scary team, and the Tapu Koko, Lantern, Kyurem, Mega DNC, Hawlucha, and the Alakazam. The team we're rocking out with is going to be an ICMZ, Kyurem, I believe, with Ice Beam, Earth Power, Toxic, and Roost. It might also be Draco. I don't remember exactly. I believe a Swords Dancing Mawile. Either that or 4 attacks. A Scar Special Victini. A physically defensive Cofagrigo, Shadow Ball, Will-O-Wisp, Psychic, and some 4th move. We have a Seismic Toss, Stealth Rock, Milk Drink, Toxic, Miltank, and then an Assault Vest Circuitry just to work as a pivot and do a lot of damage under terrain. We were Hidden Power Fire on our Kyurem because there's a Ferrothorn on the other side, and you guys don't see it in this game, obviously, because he didn't bring it. So, that being said, let's go and jump into it. I'm going to lead off with Circuitry because it actually leads well versus pretty much everything. It lives 1 hit from everything and can exert some pretty solid offensive pressure, and it also deals with this Koko lead, and I don't have great Koko counterplay, obviously. Koko's going to lead. It's going to go for Volt Switch. Thankfully, due to our AV, we're going to eat that up decently. We'll only take 20 from it and go for our own Volt Switch because if Lantern comes in, I'll just Energy Ball it. I'm not super worried about that. As the Kyurem does come in, and this is going to allow me very free rocks on my Miltank before that DNC Mega evolves, and we're going to throw off a big Toxic on this Lantern here as it goes for a Thunder Wave. This Toxic is great on this thing because it's very annoying for us to break, especially for things like Kyurem. It shows to be Thunder Wave, so I don't necessarily want to leave my Kyurem in on it. It's a 2-hit KO with Earth Power, so chipping this thing down into range of Earth Power is going to be incredibly clutch for us. So it's going to take that Toxic right there and then Volt Switch out. I'm actually going to double Toxic on this DNC coming in, which you're going to see is going to prove to be incredibly important as this thing is going to come in. At this point, I think Miltank is kind of like served its use. It got up rocks. The Kyurem's decently chipped. It got a Toxic off on the Lantern. It got a Toxic off on this DNC. So I'm willing to stay in and Seismic Toss because I know I won't die to any one hit. And getting off this damage on DNC is going to be really important. As I am just going, oh no, I'm Earthquake. So I must be mono Earthquake, so I'm not Seismic Toss. So I do go for an Earthquake that I do 36, and then I'm going to get taken out by a +1 Power Gem as this as this DNC is +1, and really scary. But thankfully, due to the Toxic chip especially, I'm going to be able to go on my Victini. It's really important because I'm not physical, I'm special. It's going to put it in range of a Psychic right here, and we're going to be able to pick it off pretty great. You're going to see Victini looks like an absolute demon against his team, and you're 100% right. His Psychic resist is Alakazam, so provided we deal with this thing sufficiently or put it in range, we're going to be in a really solid spot to potentially win this game. As right here, I'm going to make the pivot out into my Mawile, as Tony's going to make a good play and go for a sub, which is definitely very solid. Right here, I am just going to, I believe, go for a knockoff to break this, or an Ice Punch to break this thing subbed. Can't miss. Puts me in a good position. I knew I lived any one hit from this thing, as it does reveal Focus Blast, and I'm actually going to make a pretty ballsy play. I'm going to call him wanting to just 2-hit KO me with a Focus Blast right here and go for a Sucker Punch right now. Being that I didn't break his sub with a Sucker Punch, I figured he might not think we don't have it, or he might just want to get that, be a little bit over-aggressive and get that kill. As we are going to be able to knock out that Zam from full, or from 76 very easily, and forcing this Tapu Koko right here. And knocking that thing out is ridiculously good for a Victini endgame because, again, the move Psychic just wins soon. So that's great. I'm actually going to go for a Sucker Punch because a Sucker Punch puts this Koko in range of our Victini as well. Puts us in range of a Psychic, I believe. Guaranteed a Blue Flare, but definitely, I think a Psychic after Rocks. As we are going to go down to this Volt Switch, but that's fine. I don't really have switches to this thing at this point, so I'm not super worried about it. As right here, the Lantern's going to come out. It's also going to show Leftovers, which is great. I'm going to go into my Kyurem. I'm more actually and make a pivot into my Zergatry, scouting for a Thunder Wave or something like that, maybe getting a little bit more chip. I think I actually kind of just like blanked on it having Thunder Wave and realized like, oh shit, I can't actually live this hit. Alright, let this thing get Thunder Waved, and my Kyurem can actually live a hit from Koko from both, so there wasn't really a reason for me to make that play. Should have probably won Zergatry in general, but not the biggest deal in the world, as the Kyurem is going to come out right here. I know that I can live a hit guaranteed, though, as a Draco is going to come out. I'm just going to Volt Switch right here, prevent this thing from subbing, punishing it if it wants to roost, or I guess it would have been able to sub regardless, but No, at least be able to pivot around. I could have gone Victini and U-turned and then sacked off Zerk. So we're going to be able to get into our Victini, click Scarf Psychic, knock out the Kyurem. Next up comes out this Lantern right here. I'm just going to sack off my Xurkitree as I believe the Coco is going to come back in. And this just gives me another free kill of my Victini, which is, again, incredibly clutch. We're going to knock this thing out. That means no more terrain. So if this Hawlucha was a terrain burden set, it lost its terrain. But again, we have Cofagrigus at full, so that thing should really never be able to beat us. I'm going to go into my Kyurem right here, get Thunder Wave. But at this point, I'm not super worried about it because I can take away that Hawlucha's unburden the moment it makes any kind of contact with me. So really not too big of a deal. We do get full paired right there. Not a big deal, though, like I said, though, because that Surf is doing absolutely nothing. We're on Earth Power, do 39, showing this thing is very split def. And I believe just reached off this damage right here, just in case we want to lift one hit from the Hawlucha or force it into using High Jump Kick instead of like Sky Attack to knock us out. As out comes the Hawlucha, and we're going to go hard into our Cofagrigus. It's going to High Jump Kick, though. No CC this gen, and we're going to be able to knock it out here with the Psychic. As it goes down, we're able to win 3-0. However, only unfortunate thing is we win this game, right? We're 6-2. We were the 2 seed going into playoffs. We played Tony round 1, so we gotta kind of tighten up our prep and go from there. I actually think the team we built was pretty darn solid. Maybe just a couple little tweaks here and there, and we'll be in a decent spot. But yeah, we gotta play in round 1, so we'll see how we end up doing there. I'll be right back with that battle. Alrighty, like I said, round 1 we're going up against Tony again. I'd like to say I went to the lab, came up with some new shit, and I was ready to go. Realistically, I did not. I think the only thing I changed from last time was he actually changed our Xurkitree from Dazzling Gleam to Hidden Power Fire in order to hit that Ferrothorn. I realized that I'd probably just be Volt Switching out on the Kyurem anyways, or Thunderbolting to prevent a sub if that's what I wanted to do in terrain at the very least. But I'd rather actually get that slow Volt, then I can go on to Victini, U-turn, and kind of pivot around it that way. I figured I really actually never saw myself clicking Gleam, and I would rather be able to push through that Ferrothorn because any chip on Kyurem is nice, and I'm still, decently chunking it with other moves. So I felt pretty comfortable in doing so. You see the team that Tony ended up bringing this time. I believe the only thing that changed from last time is he brought the Ferrothorn instead of the Hawlucha. So our Cofagrigus is a little bit more expendable, but it definitely still is nice. It naturally eats a hit from everything on the opposing team, so that's nice at the very least. And yeah, with that being said, let's go ahead and jump into it. Turn 1, I am going to lead off with my Xurkitree once again because I feel like it is just a very solid pivot right here, as this Lantern is going to lead off with against me. Completely fine with that. If he wants to let this thing take a fat energy ball, that's great for my Kyurem in the back and my Victini in the back, locking Psychic again and winning this game like that. So that's what I'm going to do is I'm just going to click Energy Ball. I'm going to get a clean 63% off on this thing, really chipping it down a ton as he ends up Volt Switching out and only doing 13 on a crit. So that's really a great trade for me as the Ferrothorn's going to come in. I'm fine with this because if he wants to attack me, he's not going to Oko me. And if he wants to get up a Spike, I can punish him and make sure he doesn't get up multiple. So we're going to do 86 with that Hidden Power Fire right there. If he was Akka Berry, I still 2-hit KO'd him after I popped the Akka. So that really felt like a worthwhile exchange for me. Instead of him going something like Kyurem or Diancie and putting on a little bit more pressure. So Xurkitree is exerting a ton of offensive pressure as he does end up spiking up. I believe I went for a Thunderbolt right here. Did a decent amount of damage in this turn. I'm going to be able to Volt Switch out. I do still take a Spike pretty easily. I believe I actually have 2 more Spike Switch-ins as I am able to Volt out, get into my Miltank, and get up a pretty free rocks right here as the Ferrothorn is going to come out this turn and be able to get a little bit of lefties back, but not the biggest deal in the world. I'm going to go into my Xurkitree because I'm willing to sack it off if he goes for like a Gyro Ball or something like that, or like a Leech Seed if he wants to go for that, but I also want to get it in before more spikes come up and, maybe exert a little bit more offensive pressure before it ends up going down, as he actually ends up going for a Thunder Wave, so being able to pivot on that is phenomenal for me because it obviously definitely covered that as well. As this Kyurem's going to have to come in. Again, it's going to be able to eat up this HP Power Fire pretty darn easy, only taking 19. But now it's at 22, and it quite simply cannot switch in on rocks. Again, I feel very comfortable going into my Miltank right here as a Ice Beam comes out, and we're going to chew that up with our Thick Fat, and then I'm just going to go for an Earthquake right here. Unfortunately, not getting the roll to knock it out, as that was a roll. Didn't really have a better move to hit this thing, though, unfortunately, and it is going to be able to hit a big Focus Blast and knock me out. Confirming that it was, I believe, Modest, actually, because I think I was actually like calculating like Timid Specs or something like that with those Ice Beams. Or, no, I wasn't calculating specs. I don't know. I just figured it was doing a lot of damage, I guess, maybe. Who knows? But regardless, we're going to go down here with the Mill Tank. But I am going to be able to go on my Victini. No rocks are up. I just U-turn, knock out this Kyurem. And I'm going to be able to go into my Kyurem Black, as nothing on my opponent's team can actually threaten me with an Oko outside of that Mega DNC, which is, you know, really, really nice. As this, or I guess a Life Orb Zam is going to come out and be able to do so. But it does just go for a Shadow Ball here. I'm fine with that. Maybe expect a Victini to come in a little bit aggressively. And I'm going to be able to get into my Mawile right here. I believe just click Play Rough and immediately claim a KO, as this Ferrothorn should be pretty darn Spadef from the way it took that HP Fire, or at least decently Spadef, and I should be able to knock out anything but a Max Fist Def Ferrothorn with a Play Rough right there. So we knock it out right there. I know I can actually live a non-Specs Koko hit, and that information is incredibly valuable for me, so I am going to stay in and go for a Play Rough, as he does Volt Switch out, sacking off the Lantern right here. So Mawile is going to take 2 with it right there, which is great. Mega DNC is going to come in. Again, I am just going to Sucker Punch. I don't think he can afford to set up in my face on me Sucker Punching. And this hit is going to actually put him in range of an Energy Ball from my Victini right there. So, again, really, really setting up that Blue Flare endgame. Or just like a Scarftini endgame in general right here, as I am going to be an Energy Ball. No more Fire Resist on the team, as the Koko is going to come out. Obviously, no reason for me to stay in. I'm going to elect to sack off my Kyurem Black right here. To a Thunderbolt plus a Dazzling Game. I get parried here, but it really doesn't matter as long as he isn't like setting up in my face and playing for that kind of endgame. But he doesn't, thankfully, which is great. And I'm going to go into my Victini. I'm just going to click Blue Flare, and this puts me in an almost unlosable position, because this Alakazam can come in. It won't knock me out with anything but a Life Orb Shadow Ball, in which obviously my Blue Flare does a ton of damage back to it, but also a Life Orb Shadow Ball will not Oko my Cofagrigus after a Spike. So I just stay in and I spam Blue Flare here. So provided we don't miss Blue Flare or get, provided we don't miss Blue Flare and then get crit, if it is a, you know, a non-Life Orb variant, we would have been fine there to win with just Victini. And then as long as we didn't get crit after, you know, maybe Victini get hacked with Cofagrigus, we're in a spot to win that game against Tony there with Cofagrigus in the back too. So we're able to beat him 2 weeks in a row, which is always terrifying, especially when you win the first game. It's like, oh shit, well I showed, you know, what my team can do against his in the first game, literally a couple days ago. So will I be able to pull it out? Thankfully we were, which is great. But you're gonna see our semifinals game is against Emol. And we played Emol, if you don't remember, literally right before Tony. So our week 7 into our week 8 into our week 8 into our week 7. So like we've played the same people for a month, which is very annoying, but what can you say? Luck of the draw. So if we beat Emol, we play either John Jr. or just Kurt in finals, which will be awesome because 2 great friends. Obviously, Emol's a great friend as well. So and Tony is as well. So this has been a lot of fun. I've definitely enjoyed this season. And I'll definitely link everybody I played here that uploads in the description below. I know Tony does. I know John does sometimes when his internet works. Kurt does. Emol does. And does sometimes when he wants to play in Wi-Fi leagues. So D-Ray obviously does. So lots of great content creators, lots of great friends. I've had a ton of fun this season. Hopefully we can continue to do well though and make it to finals here with a semifinals win over Emol. I'll be right back for that battle. Alrighty guys, here we are with our final battle of this video in semifinals against Emol. You can see the team he elected to bring. He went the Mega Venusaur, Bronzong, Durant, the Thundurus, Dougie, and Silvally. Our team we're rocking out with this time. I believe we're a very similar Kyurem set this time. I believe the exact same Kyurem set with Toxic Ice Beam, Earth Power, and Roost. We have a Scarf Victini, a very bulky, modest Scarf Victini that just outspeeds, I believe, Dougie yeah, like a max speed Dougie. So we're like barely any speed. Very bulky. We can take Adamant Earthquake very, very comfortably as long as we're at full without rocks up. You know, obviously. But, you know, that's obviously very nice. So, like, if it's Adamant Scarf himself this time instead of just Sash or anything like that. We have an SD Mawile with Iron Head, Knockoff, and Sucker Punch. Does really, really well in this game against the team that Emol ended up bringing. We have a Safety Goggles Crobat because I really do think that he's going to have Sleep Powder on his Venusaur this time to punish my Crobat from coming in. We have Super Fang, Roost, and U-Turn as well. Brave Bird, Super Fang, Roost, U-Turn. So no Taunt this time, unfortunately. We have a very, very fast Rando Berry Seismitoad with Stealth Rock, Scald, Earth Power, and Endeavor. We have enough speed to outspeed Venusaur, like an offense Venusaur, as much speed as I think he'll end up going on it. In the case that, you know, we end up getting really low, and we can endeavor that thing down and keep it incredibly low, which is really, really nice for this team. We're also Rindaberry, so we can like pivot in on the Thunderish and, you know, break subs and keep it low and things like that. But I do like the really fast endeavor option as well. It's great for things like Bronzong and things like that too. And then we have, again, a Shed Shell Circuitry, I believe, with just Volt Switch, Thunderbolt, Energy Ball, and Hidden Power Flying for the Venusaur. Because if we get to the +1, we're actually doing a sizable chunk with a super effective Hidden Power coverage, which is great. So we're going to see a Dougie lead as I lead my Victini. Now, turn 1, I really, really wanted to call his Rocks play, because Rocks, again, are so good against my team. And if I get this play right, and I just, like, Blue Flared or Psychicked, or Blue Flare is probably my play, to be completely honest. 1, if he's not Sash, he's fucked. But I really do think he's Sash if he led this thing. I think he's Sash, so I would be able to Blue Flare and then 2-hit KO him with the Blue Flare. But if he's not, and he's like a Band variant, and he just Earthquakes, or if he's a Life Orb variant, and he just Earthquakes like an Adamant Earthquake and kills me, then I lose my Victini. If you look at his team, Victini is so good versus him, so I don't think I can risk it. I think in my best interest is to just U-turn. If he's Scarf, he's going to Earthquake here anyways. So I'm able to U-turn. I get a crit here, bring it down very low, and I get into my own Seismitoad, which is great, because it's going to allow me to get up my own Rocks, which is really clutch for breaking Sashes, or like just chipping things down like the Thunderish, making sure it always has to take 75 when it comes in. And we're going to be able to live 2 Earthquakes and knock this thing out. Now, at 2%, I was really hoping the instance in which he went into his Mega Venusaur right here to Mega Evolve and pick me off, because one, it gives him a Blue Flare, like, pivot, because right now he literally loses to the move Blue Flare. He has absolutely nothing for it, so that would have been incredibly, incredibly clutch to, you know, get that Endeavor off on that thing as we go down, and then, you know, just be able to pick it off with whether it be Victini, Kyurem, whatever it is. But he's actually going to elect to go Thunders here, and as much as that kind of is annoying, I'm going to be able to ensure this thing has no sub and just click Scald right here, as it does show to be Life Orb instead of the Leftovers variant that it was last time, as a sub is going to come out right here. I believe he was just really hoping that I was physical, because if I was physical and I click V-Create right there, I would have been slower than him the next turn and had minus Speed F, so he would have just knocked me out with Thunderbolt. But thankfully, we are not. We're going to just be able to spam Blue Flare, and this is an instant KO. There's nothing on his team that is not 2-hit KO'd by Blue Flare at this point. Venu has not Mega'd, so Volley's 2-hit KO depending on the typing, and then the next 2 are potentially even O-Code, being the Bronzong. It might even be O-Code because we're modest. This turn he's going to go into his Venusaur, get that Thick Fat, and go for a Sleep Powder. Thankfully, the safety goggles does work out in our favor, as I am just going to go for a U-turn. See that Volley normal come out right here, showing that it does definitely have an item, so I feel pretty comfortable going into my Mega Mawile, whether it has Flamethrower or any coverage for me. I know I'll live it, and I'll get off a big, big knockoff, which I think is incredibly important. So this Flamethrower is going to do 75. We are going to be able to knock this thing off and knock its Choice Scarf off, and then pick it off the next turn with a Sucker Punch, which is great. Next up, Mega Venusaur comes out. I feel pretty darn comfortable in pivoting into my Crobat right here. I can save this thing either to break through Bronzong with a knockoff, or have priority and Sucker Punch later for the Durant as well. And I know that my Crobat will obviously be able to take a Hidden Power Fire from here and either Roost off or just off a big Brave Bird. Hidden Power is going to come out here. It's going to do 19. I am going to Roost up to stay decently healthy right here, as Emol is going to go for a knockoff, which would allow him to Sleep Powder me at this point. But I am just going to Brave Bird as he misses the Sleep Powder, and this is really, really unfortunate, right? Because if he hit the Sleep Powder, you're going to see he probably would have made the hard Durant play, which would have been incredibly, incredibly unfortunate for me, as you're going to see here in a second. As I am just going to Brave Bird, knock this thing out, and then force in the Durant right here. And I figured he might want to go Bronzong instead, but I am just going to go ahead and go straight for a Brave Bird, do what, 47%, as this thing reveals the agility, which is really unfortunate because I'm not going to be able to 2-hit KO, or not going to be able to OHKO this thing. It's going to take me out with an Iron Head. And this puts me in a position, despite being up for 4-2, to basically lose the game if I lose these 50-50s. I have to win the 50-50 of Sucker Punch versus Agility at some point before I run out of Sucker Punch PP, which means I have 7 left. So I essentially have 7 turns at most to win a 50-50, in which I knock him out. So even if I win a 50-50 in, like, I don't know, I basically have to knock him out in 7 turns, or I lose the game, or before I use up my 7 PP, or I lose the game, because this thing dies to coverage, this thing dies, and Zergatry also probably dies, because this thing's a Z move variant, and it can pop Z and just nuke me, because I'm a Zergatry. So this first turn, I'm going to go for a very, very safe Sucker Punch, as the Durant goes for an Agility, catches me there. Turn 2, I was incredibly close to clicking Knockoff. I had the button clicked for like 2 minutes before I clicked Sucker Punch right here, because I really felt like he would not attack me turn 2. Seemed really, really risky. Z's going to Agility up again, and this turn, ball's on the table, he's going to Agility, but we're going to throw off a big knockoff and knock this thing out. So, as cool as that sounded, that was so incredibly close. You have no idea. I'm able to knock off this Bronzong and knock it out with a knockoff. Crit didn't really matter because I could always just go into Victini after. He was a Calm Mind, but he actually couldn't set up there, so it would have been completely fine. So we're able to win this game of a very, 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 very scary 50-50 there, and able to win it off that Durant, which could have been a big, big problem if it hit all its moves. And again, I guess provided he would have had to hit all his moves, but good lord. We're able to move on to semifinals off a great game with Emol, so that was a lot of fun. We're playing, like I said, either John Jr. or just Kurt. Sometime next week, I will get the upload up, hopefully, as soon as after that game happens, whether it be the day after or even the day of, depending on how early we play. And we have another chance at a championship. It's weird because, like, I feel like I've been playing pretty bad in a lot of my Wi-Fi leagues. Like APA, we didn't make playoffs. We lost our first pack game. So I feel pretty lackluster, but then I've also made 3 championships in the last, like, month. So maybe I'm doing something right. Who knows? Hopefully we can kind of make it 2 championships to 1 championship loss and not 2 losses to 1 win. I think I'm usually pretty good in championships. I believe I'm 7-3 all time in them. So I'd love to move that to 8-3. Let me know if you guys enjoyed today's video. Let me know if you're excited for finals. Be sure to drop a like and sub. Like I said, that video will be up sometime next week, depending on whenever I play. And yeah, with that being said, thank you guys so much for watching. Again, if you enjoyed, drop a like. If you're new, drop a sub. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Later.